Hello friends, and welcome to Late Night Creations. Today we are going to do some more beautiful rustic wood Christmas DIYs. Let's get crafting. We are going to start this DIY with a salvaged piece of a spindle and a knob that I purchased somewhere, maybe Amazon, maybe Restore. I'm not real sure. It was just in my stash. And we are going to marry the two of these together to make a cute spindle for an angel project. I'm going to take some white chalk paint. This is Rust-Oleum. You can use any kind of white chalk paint. And I'm going to give it 2 coats of paint. I also went over to my scroll saw and I cut out a moon shape, half moon shape of this trim. This was like some baseboard trim, and it was just a little piece I had in my stash, and so I just cut a little half moon shape out to serve as the wings of our angel. I'm using white wax by DIY to coat both of them to seal in the paint and just to give it I don't know, that look that I wanted. I'm also going to take my little finger sander now, and I'm going to just sand back a little bit of that paint. Now, the wax is going to help me not sand back too much, and you're going to see that it gets on my sandpaper and coats my sandpaper, so I had to change my sandpaper twice while I did this. Then I'm going to take my soft little piece of a t-shirt and just wipe it all down and buff it out really good. I'm going to take some, guess what? Chiffon ribbon. I've got some white chiffon ribbon and it was too wide, so I'm just going to cut it. And it didn't have the little frayed edge once I cut it, but I just rubbed it a little bit with my fingers like so, and it looks perfect. I'm just going to tie her a little knot right there, and then I'm going to cut the ends off. I'm going to twist it till it looks like I want it, and then I'm just going to cut the little excess off and make it look like a little bow. Now I'm going to take some of the wired jute cord from Dollar Tree, and you know you have to be careful with the ends of this or it will all unravel from your wire. So I'm going to use my wire cutters and I'm going to cut the wire. I'm going to use my scissors to cut the jute, and then I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue. Sometimes I use hot glue. Sometimes I just use my Tite Bond Quick and Thick and just stick it to itself. And then I'm going to just twist these 2 little pieces together to make a ring, and that is going to be her halo. I drilled some little pilot holes in the wings and in the spindle, and I'm going to use a little screw to screw this together because there weren't any flat surfaces. So I wanted to make sure that it was going to stay together good. So I used this piece of scrap wood that I use a lot. You can tell it's been used a lot for this same purpose. And I'm going to push that screw all the way through there. And that spindle was kind of hard, so it was a little bit hard to get it in there, but we managed. And we're going to glue her little halo to her little head. I'm being nice to the angels this week. And then I'm adding a little extra glue for extra hold. Now, she wouldn't stand up. She was top heavy. So I went ahead and had this little slice of a spindle in my stash, and I painted it white as well. And now I'm just going to screw it into the bottom. I'm finding the center of this little slice of a spindle. And I'm going to do the same thing I did with the wings. I'm just going to screw it through here. Actually, I think I may have screwed it all the way through because I had that hole in there in my scrap wood, so I was able to, and then I just twisted it until it got on there, and then I just used the drill to go ahead and tighten it down all the way. And now she stands up beautifully on her own. This is a piece of spindle that I harvested off of an old antique chair. It was part of the leg, and I have a knob, and then I have a piece of scrap wood that I cut with my scroll saw in this little half moon shape. You could use a jigsaw just as easily. that I just have my scroll saw in the craft cottage, so that works great. I'm just going to dry brush some white paint on there, just in case you can see through this little piece of fabric I'm going to use. This was a little, whatever you want to call this thing. I would not call it a doily because it's just some kind of little placemat. How about that? A little placemat. I'm going to cut it up. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. It did hurt me a little bit to cut it, but it's being put to good use. I bought this little piece off of Whatnot in a sale, and I'm just going to glue it down, and these are going to become her wings. I thought this would make a beautiful little set of rustic angel wings. A little bit of lacy rustic. We like a little lace with our rustic, right? It's not fancy lace. It's just rustic lace. Okay, so I'm going to glue that all down, and then I'm just making sure it's going to look right there. And then I'm going to take White Wax by DIY, and I'm going to smear a healthy amount all over this entire spindle and the head. And I get my DIY waxes, paints, IOD products, Saltwash. I get all those from Sammy over at unicorndustdesigns.com. Her link to her website is in every description box in my videos. So be sure that you hop on over there to her website if you're interested in those products. She also has a lot of thrifted items and upcycled things. So check her out. Now we're going to give her just a little lace collar. This is the crocheted lace that you can get from Dollar Tree. And you can see that I'm just putting a little bit of glue around, and I'm just pinching it a little bit with my tweezers. I said this in last week's video when I did a similar technique, that you could run a piece of thread through there and gather it like you do when you sew. But this was just easy for me to do, and it turns out great. And it's going to stay just fine. So I did this around the entire neck, and then I snipped it off. Now I'm going to go ahead and put a little piece of this lace ribbon across, this little crocheted lace ribbon across the back. And this is a cotton ribbon, so it sticks well with hot glue, and it's soft, and it's just really pretty. I'm going to trim it up, get the right scissors that work the best, and the same thing I did with the previous angel. Just going to screw the wings into the body. I apologize if I sound a little nasally. I've had a bad cold and just trying to get over it. My throat has been really sore, so if I sound a little off, I apologize. Now we're going to make her a halo. I have this gold cord ribbon, and I'm just going to put a little hot glue on my silicone mat and glue the ends together. I'm going to press them down. I'm going to roll it around and seal it up. And then we'll glue it to the back of her head, just like we've done all our little angel halos in all the videos this year. This has kind of been a theme for me, I suppose. I feel like I've done this a lot. I've made several angels to sell on Whatnot too that I haven't recorded, so maybe that's why I feel that way. And then she's going to get a little tiny gold bow made from embroidery thread. And she is finished. I think she is adorable. Okay, here we have some scrap wood from an old fence, some old fencing that I took over to my scroll saw, and I cut it into a triangle. We are going to make a tree. I'm not using my regular miter saw out in the shop because we still have not replaced the parts that got broken when I had my little accident a few weeks ago. It is coming in the mail though. So I'm also going to use the pieces that I cut off. I did that a couple weeks ago in a video to show you how you can use the two pieces that I cut off the sides. So we're going to dry brush one with Aviary by DIY and one with some white chalk paint. This is the Rust-Oleum White. I'm still using up that whole quart that I've had in my stash, so I'm going to use that up before I open my new DIY that came in the mail. Okay, so I'm just going to use some Titebond Quick and Thick and some hot glue to glue these two pieces together, so that out of that one piece of wood, we can get two trees instead of just one and throwing away the scraps. We don't throw away scraps around here. Now, this was the same board from the same piece of wood, and it was not the same thickness. So I'm going to use a couple of these little tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree to make a little base to keep it from falling over. So we're going to just glue those right to the base in the back. And I did use a little bit of dark wax on those. Okay, now I have this Rusty Crusty Tin Star in my stash. I got a big bag of those at Goodwill a couple years ago, actually, like around 4th of July. And I'm just going to put some dark wax on it because I didn't like how orange it was. And there is not enough flat space to be able to adhere this to the top of my tree. So that little round piece of wood is one of the pieces that I pop off the bottom of those little bottle brush trees when we put the bottle brush trees in a spool or a vase or whatever. So I'm going to use that to put this star on. And then I used the super glue from Dollar Tree to adhere the metal piece. Okay, let's finish up the green one. Let's make a star to go on top. I did dark wax that green tree with some DIY dark wax. And now I'm just taking some white paint and I'm sponging it all over this star I don't know why I used a sponge to sponge it. I just did. Once it was completely dry, I took some weathered wood by DIY and I sparsely sponged it on there. I didn't want full coat. I had something that I thought was going to work great, but it did not. I wanted to do the crackle, and I watered the glue down. I do not know why I watered that glue down. Should not have, but I did. And then I painted it all over the star, and then I decided I was going to sponge the white back on. Well, it did not work. I don't know if it's because I watered the glue down or because I sponged the paint on. Either way, it didn't work, but that's okay. I dried it with my heat gun, and then I took some of that glue and I sponged that glue sporadically all over, sporadically on it, not all over. And I took some cinnamon, just some ground cinnamon, and I sprinkled it on there, and then I'm tapping it off, and I'm going to dry that with my heat gun a little bit, and it almost melted it a little bit because I put it on there for quite a little bit. And it kind of melted it a little bit, which kind of made it look more like rust. Now I'm going to take Mod Podge. I'm going to sponge the Mod Podge all over to seal that cinnamon in. And I'm telling you, my crab cottage was smelling like we were cooking something out there with the heat gun and that cinnamon. Yep. Anyway, it just made it look a little bit rusty crusty. Not really exactly what I had envisioned, but I ended up liking it. Now we're going to glue it to the top of our tree with a little twine bow. And then I decided I wanted to bring a little Jesus to it. Because you know I love to put a little Jesus in my DIYs. Well, we're going to put a couple blocks on the bottom first for stability. So I got my scrapbook paper out that I used last week, and I took a little piece of the manger scene, and we're just going to make a little tag. We're going to do the iron-on method, Mod Podge, let it dry completely, iron it on with no steam. You can use your household iron. You could use probably could use a flat iron if you had something this small. Who knows? I wanted to get those edges really good, so I used that piece of scrap wood so that I could go around the edges because this piece was so small, I was afraid I was going to burn myself. So I took my X-Acto knife and I trimmed the edges. I poked a pencil through that hole. I used my twine to adhere. I just wrapped it around the top there. I did use a little hot glue to keep that twine from sliding down, and then I just tied a little knot. I contemplated putting a couple of little beads on there. I think if I were going to, I would have painted them or done something to them and not left them raw, but I wasn't feeling the best, and I was trying to make these as simple and cute as I could. So I had a little half bead, the little split beads. So I just took that dark wax and waxed it over. I put a little dark wax around the tag, and then I glued that little half bead to that tag and called it done. And I think it turned out really cute. Let me know what you think about this one. Would you have left the tag off and not done it? Would you have added beads to this one? Here's the top piece of that piece of fencing. You can see the little dog-eared part, and I thought it would be perfect to be the hat of a snowman. We're going to make a little snowman. I had a little piece of scrap that I kind of cut to make him a nose. We're going to just paint the bottom half, a little more than half of it white. And probably if I did it again, I would do less black. I would give him a shorter hat. Or I would put that little cross piece up a little bit. I feel like the hat just looks like it's kind of down over his face a little bit, which is fine. And then I took two little half beads, painted them black. My little carrot orange nose, my little carrot nose orange. Let me get my words out. And then I waxed them with clear. And I'm going to write on the brim of the hat, Jesus loves you so much. Well, I couldn't decide if I wanted to write you or me. Jesus loves me so much. Jesus loves you so much. Either way, he loves us both. Just a simple little reminder around the house to remember that Jesus loves us and he's with us. Now I'm going to take a little wispy brush, really it's actually one that I've kind of ruined, and I'm going to dip it in the white paint and kind of glob on some to make it look like snow. I'm going to glue the little eyeballs down. Glue his little eyeballs down. And then there are so many possibilities you could do with this. You could add some little holly leaves and berries to his hat. There's just a lot of different things you could do. I just was trying to keep these DIYs really simple this week. I put some little marks, little white marks. Oh, I did not record me making his face. I just used a black paint marker and made a little swirly smile. And then I used that white paint marker to do the Jesus loves you so much and the little marks on the eyes and the nose. And I clear waxed the entire piece. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure and leave this video a thumbs up. Drop a comment down below and let me know which of these was your favorite DIY. Would you recreate any of them? Are you inspired to make some rustic angels? But most of all, I want you to remember to be still and know that He is God.